Hey guys, welcome back to Journal of Journeys. This is episode 7, I believe. Is it even?
Yes.
Yeah, episode 7. And we have a special guest here with us today. Abraham is here and he's going to be sharing about what he does. But before he does that, Abe, I do want to get into just, how your family dynamic was. How did you grow up and how was your childhood?
Hard hitting question starting off. So I am number 6 of 9.
Mm.
My dad, he's a big believer in big families. So, growing up, I was actually the baby of the family all the way until I was like in my early 20s. Then my dad decided to have more kids. So there's that. Family dynamics. I lost my mom when I was about 4.
Mm.
So immediately, my dad basically became the sole provider, and that meant that he spent more time at work than dealing with us. So my oldest brother and my oldest sister actually ended up kind of taking on the leadership role even more. So because of that, now my oldest sister, she's kind of like the glue of the family. She's the one that
Oh,
gets everybody together.
yeah.
She's the one that is in touch with everybody. When such and such is fighting with such and such, we all still talk to her. So
Oh,
there's that, and then of course my oldest brother. He's the one that always watches out for everybody. He's definitely been instrumental in my success and my growth as well. So in terms of family dynamics, I would say that they've afforded me the freedom of uh, taking chances and,
mm,
flying out, knowing that I have a great support system as well.
that's awesome.
So, Abe, I've known you for how long? Like a year now?
Maybe a little bit more.
Maybe a little bit more. Sorry, can't keep track of time, but um, no, I mean, I think the last time, well, we were talking just a minute ago, and you said you're from Nigeria, right?
Yes.
And in every single culture, we have our own way of doing things.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Just like me and you're from the Hmong community, so we're very family oriented.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Big family too. We
Big
have
big family too, not just you,
yes.
man. 9, that's a lot, but think about 15.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the common thread is in those countries, there is no social support
Mhm.
uh,
Right.
um, at all. There's no such thing as a retirement pension. So your kids are your retirement plan. So the more kids you have, the more likely you are to actually be, stable at a
Right.
later age.
Mm,
And I mean, it's even baked into the culture that you take care of your parents or your
Absolutely.
grandparents and so on. So I kind of see the value in it.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it works both ways because then as your parents get older, the one thing they really want to do is be around their grandkids. So I mean, if they get to stay with you, then you have free childcare.
Right.
But then also, they get to help shape the next generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think well, especially what you say is that the kids are retirement, like what you say, a
Yeah,
pension, a
Mhm.
retirement for the older
exactly.
family. And it's always been our culture too as well to take care of the elderly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For them to I think the way in our culture it works is that whoever is the youngest, right, will,
Yeah, usually the youngest son.
yeah,
That's
usually,
that's who the parents will live with.
yes,
Oh,
the
great.
youngest the youngest son will live with the parents, but the oldest son will will it be like a money support for the oldest son?
I think so. I think it's usually the son who are expected to take care of the parents.
Ah,
But in our culture, usually it's the youngest son that the parents end up living with. So,
It,
I mean, now it's a little, I mean, I feel like in the Western world now it's the daughters kind of take over because
yeah.
we've kind of taken over that.
Well, daddy's little girl
Yes.
do you
takes on
guys do
multiple
you guys have
things.
something like that, or does it fall like, whoever the dad likes the most stays?
Yeah.
Um, for From my understanding, it all falls on the oldest sibling.
Okay.
Mm.
Usually the oldest male.
Hmm.
He kind of gets the brunt of the responsibilities. So I guess I'm fortunate that I wasn't born in the Hmong community because I'd have
It would have been
some work
you.
to do. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But fortunately, for us, it's kind of more straightforward. But
Mm,
oftentimes, what happens is, there's a more of a coalescing where everybody kind of comes together and
right.
make sure that the previous generation is taken care of. My family is really big about still supporting extended family members in Nigeria and so on and so forth.
Mm.
So
Is all of your siblings here, or do you still have siblings in Nigeria too?
all of my brothers and sisters, yeah, they're all here in America. Most of them actually live in Sacramento.
Oh,
I have
nice.
one sister who's all the way in upstate New York. Then my father is currently in Atlanta.
Mm,
So there is that slight separation, but we're
yeah.
all still pretty close knit. It's an odd way of us doing it,
Yeah.
but we're still close knit. Still, we still have our fights and
Of
our
course.
differences, but we all come together like Voltron when anything goes
Yep.
wrong.
Yes.
So there's always that.
That's what I love. I think about our cultures is that we are very family oriented. And you're absolutely right about the elders depending on their kids to take care of them. I think that's a tradition that's kind of lost here in the Western world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, and on. I feel like this is gonna be a sponsorship for traditional family values,
Yes.
but I really do see the value in it. I
Hmm.
feel as though oftentimes that's one of the biggest motivating forces to actually want to
Oh,
be
yeah.
ambitious and so on and so forth. I mean, if you look at like the migration
Yeah.
from like Mexico or even some of the Southern American countries to
Hmm.
America, it's rarely because they want to go to Hollywood,
Hmm.
and it's usually because they want to make sure that they're supporting their
Hmm.
families. So they're willing to do things that most of us here would consider absolutely ridiculous
Hmm.
just to make sure that they're able to support their family.
Hmm.
So, I mean, to me, I think that that's something that is often missed
Hmm.
because we're in a society that is more focused on entitlement. I
Right.
deserve this, I should be getting
Hmm.
that. But it's like, well, what are you putting in and what's your motivation for it?
Right.
Is this so you can have the newest car, or is it to make sure that your grandmother's taken care of and so on? So I feel like that's a disconnect that
Hmm.
is only getting bigger and bigger as society is morphing into whatever it's going to
Yeah.
be.
Right.
So,
I agree with you, Abe. I know I was telling Ethan too that, I love my family. I think it's my family that they're my moral compass.
exactly.
Without them, I don't think I would be the person that I am today.
Absolutely.
So
Because, I
I
mean,
believe in that.
you can make enough money to where your friends around you won't
Mm-hmm.
tell you the truth.
Right.
But there's no amount of money you can make that's going to keep your big sister from telling you you're being stupid.
Exactly.
Yep.
So there's always that advantage as well of
Mm-hmm.
family. Um, I cannot afford to walk around acting like I'm hot stuff, knowing that my
Right.
oldest brother is going to tell me I'm being a jerk.
Exactly.
So, it definitely keeps me level headed
Hmm.
as much as possible.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. With I think when we talk about culture, even now, like when you think about it, most people outside of the United States, they say, you know what, I want you to. They will talk to, say, one of the kids or something like that. I want you to. The village have poured in all our money together, and you are our shining star that's gonna make it in the United States.
exactly.
We will give you this money and go and build the American dream, so you can bring us or help us to come over there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, that's what happened to one of my cousins. She actually came over here, lived in New York. She was sponsored by a family to, so she was babysitting, and she actually started working and did all her paperwork and stuff like that. Got all her paperwork in order, and then she started working at a low job at a hospital as a maintenance, cleaning. Sorry, housekeeping lady, like cleaning, just cleaning the stuff. And then
Yeah.
eventually she went to school, and now she's a doctor.
Exactly.
Mm.
And she's a doctor and she owns a couple restaurants too as well, and she
Mm.
was able to have enough money to bring some of the family overs and things like that. But I mean, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Me alone, I probably wouldn't. The village would probably not send me. I'll tell you that. They'll probably say, okay, well,
So long, suckers.
yeah. They're like, okay, well, you're not the one.
Last time we saw him, we gave him too much money.
Yeah.
The end.
But
Not doing
Very
that
short
again.
story.
yeah, but that's what a lot of people do now, especially. But it's harder to come into the United States now. A little bit harder.
Yeah.
It's more political.
Yeah,
Mhm.
unfortunately. You know what? That actually reminds me. When I had a stint where I actually moved down to San Diego, and while I was there, that's where I learned barbering and all that stuff and blah blah blah. But I remember the 7-Eleven stores. Every single, like, there was one almost on like every corner in like East San Diego and like the part where normal people live. And what was interesting was everywhere you go to, it's like the same tribe of people working there.
Mhm.
And after a while, it's like, wait a minute, y'all know each other. Well, yeah. And then finally, I got the story, and it was exactly what you just said. A group of them came to San Diego. They pulled their money together, opened up one 7-Eleven. That started
Mm.
doing good. They took the money from that, opened up another one until everybody had one.
Hmm.
Then they pulled all their money together, brought more family over,
Mhm.
wash, rinse, repeat, on and on and on until now, like they have their own like section in San Diego
Yeah.
where it's all their people. Everybody's doing well. Everybody's profiting, and it's because of the fact that instead of it being me, 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 it's
Yeah.
a we mindset, and because of
Right.
that, then they actually have a chance to pull each other up from poverty or
Mhm.
from oppression or whatever else. And I feel as though that has been attempted in different formats through different communities. Even the African American community, for a while with the Black Panthers, it was a similar
Hmm.
effort.
Mhm.
And without getting into the weeds of it, um, those times that people have actually chosen to come together and uh, aim at one goal, they tend to get a lot further than when it's me, me, me.
Mhm.
So I know for myself, my my mindset has always been on the team approach, whereas together everybody achieves more.
Mhm.
And in having that mindset, I feel as though I'm able to move in a way that a lot of other companies are not able to,
Right.
because I know that it's not just me I'm representing; it's my entire team. And with that, um, as I'm growing, I'm making sure that I'm exalting them and helping them grow.
Mhm.
That way, then we can all continue to push each other and actually achieve more.
Right.
But I don't know if that's a Western concept anymore. Once upon a time it was,
Once upon a time, yeah.
but I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, I think our society here, the culture has definitely shifted to a more like hyper individualistic
Yes.
culture where everyone's focused on themselves more.
And I kind of feel like it's engineered.
Mhm.
Cuz I mean, like, you don't see social media like geared towards, hey, show off your whole
Yeah.
team, show off your tribe.
Right.
No, it's show me your latest haircut or your
Yeah.
latest shoes, or tell me about you. I want you to show how much better you are than the next
Right.
post. And so then even that subconsciously plays a role in people then, even if they started off with a team, at some point then it's, hey, look at my fancy
Mhm.
Bentley, look how balling I am, and me,
Exactly.
me. And it takes away from those other people who are watching it, then realizing that they didn't get there by
Mhm.
themselves. It was actually a coalition or a
Yeah, it
family
took a
of
team.
people.
Yeah.
So that really pushes me away from social media. And I mean, I think I'm just as addicted as everybody else to scrolling through. But what I've been challenging myself to do more and more is be mindful of what I'm feeding my brain and be
Mhm.
mindful of what I'm giving my time to.
Mhm.
So, there's that as well.
How old were you when your family came to the United States, Abe?
Um, excuse me. I was 7 years old.
Mm. Would you say that your current life now and being the age that you are now, that you still have a lot of strong cultural influence?
I believe that my influence is more from my personal faith,
Mm.
and because I don't really spend that much time within the Nigerian community.
Mm.
I would rather spend time around my family and around, you know, my relationship with God. So I don't even know if necessarily I would say it's a cultural thing as much
Yeah.
as it is just the influence of my family and my immediate circle.
Okay.
So even my accent is not like, there's going to be Nigerians who hear this and they're like, he sounds like a fake Nigerian.
He's
So,
faking that accent. He's trying to sound
exactly.
authentic.
He ain't authentic.
Oh, no, that's awesome, man. I mean, I think what you said is true about social media,
Mhm.
about the Western. I mean, and and we see it that way too. And it's not just us, but I think a lot of people in coming from different countries.
Yeah.
There was I was listening to I forgot somebody, and he was so there was a 7-Eleven when I used to live. So I used to live in Burbank, California,
Okay. So
and
yeah, you've seen it too.
the 7-Eleven, yeah, and it's in every single block. I mean,
Yeah.
every single block.
Mhm.
And the 7-Eleven there, whenever I would go there and go, say, to the next block or to the next block 7-Eleven, they're all family.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you wonder, it's like, okay, well, are they just workers, or do they own this place,
Mhm.
or
Exactly.
and even right now, still the liquor stores,
Mm-hmm.
the liquor stores, but everybody there, they share a piece of something.
Yeah.
It's because they know that in the long haul, they don't have to share it no more. They can go and provide for whoever.
I mean, it's such a simple concept,
It is.
but yet we're in a world where that seems like the most like impossible thing to do.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, I always think about that acronym, like, together everyone achieves more.
Mhm.
But the biggest part of that is together,
Mhm.
but for whatever reason, that's the part that everyone like tends to kind of fade.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, I want to make sure I'm getting mines. And it's like, well, you know, how does 100% of nothing look versus
Right.
10% of a huge pie?
Mhm.
I would rather have that 10% personally, but it's a weird thing in itself. So
So I think just moving a little off the topic there, but I think the last time we talked, I don't even know. Was it like a couple weeks ago?
yeah, I think
Or
so.
yeah, I think it was a couple weeks ago. We talked, and I was told you that you are really tall. Oh, you're like 6'4", right?
Completely
I
off
am
subject.
6'2" and some change
Yeah,
somewhere in
and
there.
I ask you a question. Are you the tallest, or do you have tall brothers? And I think you showed me a short picture. I think your family's gonna see this too, but
Oh
you showed me a
yeah, oh
picture
yeah. It's not a secret. I tower over everybody in my family easily.
easily.
My dad is probably up to my shoulder. So, the running joke in my family since I was a kid is, yeah, he was adopted. He just doesn't know it yet. So there is that. Yeah, it's completely weird, and I make it a point to rib my older brother about it all the time. Like, yeah, you got the age, but I got the height and the look and the hairline. So sucks for you. Yeah, he doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it.
Nah.
But being the tallest, I mean, when you were growing up, were you always the tallest?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It, how old is your brother compared to you?
My oldest brother, he is exactly 10 years older than me. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
so
I was wondering, like, did you guys go to high school with each other? Did you
nah.
guys no?
He was already out of the house by the time I was in junior high. He was already
Oh,
already
okay.
gone.
Oh, wow. So you're from Fresno, and
5'9".
5'9", and in Fresno, If say that if you and me were friends in middle school, what kind of a friend would you be to me?
That's a great question. You're asking me about, young Abe. We would have been great friends, first of all. I think that at that time, I was definitely more introverted. I was, um, I don't think anybody who knows me, like, doesn't know that I used to stutter often.
Mm.
Mm.
So because of that, like, I was really shy and kind of closed off. In terms of confidence, I really didn't have much. So because of that, I didn't have an issue with being friends with anybody, especially if I could relate with them in any way.
Mhm.
So I was raised to, be kind and be loving. So I definitely would have been the type of friend where we would probably hang out before school, during lunch, and after school, so long as you were willing to play basketball with me, or, you know, um, help me figure out this math problem that I don't get. Like, it would have been automatic for sure.
So would I be coming over to your house, or will we be going somewhere else at a park to go play basketball, hang out there? What would it be?
Ah. Um, I don't remember a lot of people coming over to my house, but it wasn't because we had like a family rule against it. It's just I didn't have that many stuff to do.
Uh-huh.
Like, I didn't have video games or anything
Yeah.
like that. I feel like I'm like kind of weird for saying it, but like I really didn't play video games that much. In fact, since I started late playing video games, I always sucked at it. So for me, it was like, hey, let's go out and ride bikes. Let's
Mhm.
Mhm.
go
Yeah.
play basketball. Let's go walk. Let's go do whatever, so long as it's outside the house. But yeah, I remember maybe having maybe like three friends who like were like regular fixtures, like coming over, and that was because they were like, my house is more boring than yours, so we're hanging at your place, so
This goes.
deal with it. And with all of my siblings and everything else, it was always a situation where there was always life in the house, there was always
Mm.
people around. So it actually made it really really entertaining. But every chance I got, every opportunity I got to get away from the house,
Yeah.
I was gone. So yeah, I was that kid where I was like, hey, I'm over across the street. I'm down the road. I'm hanging out with this person or this person. But it wasn't really about me being home at all.
Was there like when you went to school? Was it more of the community that did it feel more like a community that you were living in? Like everybody was around the block, everybody kind of lived with each other. Because here in Sacramento, if you don't know that the Hmong community, it's kind of built like that,
Ah,
where everybody is going to say Grant High School,
Mhm.
and Grant High School within that approximate area, everybody kind of know each other,
Knows
ah,
everybody. Yeah.
and everybody kind of live next to each other.
yeah. It in junior high, definitely that was the case where everybody lived within a certain radius of each other,
Yeah.
except for my best friend. He lived like clear across town, and it was kind of annoying because this one time he's like, "Hey, let's walk to my house." I'm like, "Okay, cool." It was like a 10-mile walk, and I was like, "I'm never
Mm.
doing this
Yeah.
again." I had to call my dad to pick me up so I can get home at a decent hour. But yeah, in junior high, definitely. In high school, because I went to Fresno High, and it was 5 miles away from where I lived, and it seemed as though everybody who was going there at the time, they lived in all sorts of different random neighborhoods that,
Mm.
it wasn't always a smart idea to be at after dark. So it's like, you know what? I'll see you guys tomorrow at school. It's okay.
Tell us a little bit about Fresno. I mean, I'm not too familiar. I've never. I went there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Fresno 2 weeks
Visit,
ago.
but
Visit.
we haven't lived there. Yeah.
We just went to go see a big house.
Ah,
If you seen some of my videos on TikTok, it was a $4.5 million house.
Mhm.
It was huge,
Custom built.
custom
I'm
build.
guessing that was in Clovis.
I don't know. I'm guessing it's more north. It's,
Clovis.
I guess so.
Clovis.
It's in Clovis. But so But I don't know much about Fresno. Can you tell us a little bit about Fresno, especially during the time that you were there and what you saw, and basically, how what made you move out of Fresno?
Okay. So let's do some Fresno fun facts. Fresno, from the last time I checked, has the second largest Hmong community
Mm-hmm.
in America. I believe Minnesota is number
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yep.
So I had Hmong friends. I ate a lot of good food. Fresno also, I believe, is the pistachio capital of the world. It's huge on agriculture,
Hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
that's always a thing. Um, Also, there's a socioeconomic divide that kind of happens. So there's different parts of town that kind of
Mm-hmm.
are known for different communities and so on and so forth, and also financial opportunities kind of go along those barriers as well.
Yeah.
Um, for myself, the reason why I left Fresno is because we originally, when I came from Nigeria to America, we came to Sacramento. And then at age 13, we moved down to Fresno because that was where the most affordable housing was for my father and our enormous family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember us moving there and me hating it so much. I talked crap about Fresno every single day to the point where all of my siblings were like, "You're right." So then, as each one turned 18, they successfully moved back to
Mm.
Sacramento. And then I turned 18, I'm graduating high school, and I'm looking around, I'm like, but this is where all my friends are.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave.
Right.
And it turned into a situation for me where I walked onto the football team, and that didn't work out, which was a blessing in disguise. But along the way, I actually didn't have an intention to leave Fresno
Hmm.
initially
Mm.
because I loved it there. That's where all my friends were, and I knew how to get around. But it turned into a situation where just the opportunities for growth, the opportunities to actually you know, achieve more than what I saw everybody else doing,
Mm-hmm.
was very small, if any at all.
Right.
So I moved to Sacramento for a short amount of time and finished playing football over at Sac City for a year and started trying to figure out what I wanted to do the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I moved back because I got homesick. And while I was there, at this point, I had like been out of high school for like at least like I want to say like 10 years or so. And I'm looking around and everybody's still doing the exact same thing they
Mm-hmm.
did when they left high school in the first place. And I was like, this isn't going to work for me. So I ended up actually leaving again because now for sure I knew like, there's no way I'm actually
Yeah.
going to grow if I just stay here.
Right.
So I ended up actually moving to Southern California.
So
Mm.
when so just going back a little bit, when you were in high school, I mean, we talk about you playing sports and basketball and those kind of areas. Was it? Did you have friends that were playing basketball? That's why you joined, or was it something that you were like, man, you know what? This is I have the height for it. I'm just gonna do it.
It was an opportunity to get out the house
It
for
was an
sure.
opportunity to get out the house.
Yeah, anybody that knew me then wouldn't say that I was going to the NBA at all. I was not good at well, I was capable at basketball, but I didn't have the confidence to actually be good at basketball.
Mm.
Um, I end up gravitating towards football more because you the positions I play, your role is to mess things up, and
Hmm.
I was like, I can do that,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna do that. So yeah, ultimately, I played football as a way of also helping me um, learn how to grow socially, learn
Mm-hmm.
how to interact with people, and build up social skills and so on and so forth. And I mean, it didn't hurt that I was already 6 feet and I could run and all that other stuff, but I really enjoyed it, so it didn't hurt either.
That's awesome. So fast forward to now, Abe. We know what you do, but before I ask the other
I
questions,
sell drugs. Just kidding.
there it
I don't
is.
sell drugs.
That's why he's here. But I want to give you the opportunity to share. I know that you're an entrepreneur. You have a successful business in Elk Grove. I do want to hear from your own words. What do you do?
I My wife hates it when I say it this way, but I see myself as a barber. I cut hair. But I guess the reality of what I do is I own a barber shop,
Mm-hmm.
and more than even being a barber, I believe myself I believe myself to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is to build businesses and help help my community grow in that way.
Mm. Was there a figure in your life that influenced you towards entrepreneurship that you could think of?
I think that there have been a lot of people who kind of fit that role,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel bad because specific names escape me right now, but probably the number one person would be my father.
Mm.
When we were in Nigeria, there was a stretch where he owned a bicycle and repair shop,
Oh,
and he's always like been entrepreneurial. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
yeah.
he's always had that part of him,
Mm-hmm.
and he made the sacrifice to let that go um, in order to create stability for the family. He even owned a bookshop for a stretch and so on.
Mm.
So I feel like it's always been in my DNA, and I noticed as I was going through the adult world of working that I always tend to thrive when I was in a situation of um of leadership. You
Mm.
know, even if it's as simple as, hey, you're in charge of turning off the lights at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, at 1:59, I'm by the light
Yeah.
switch like this, 2 o'clock. You know, so for me, like after a while, it's like, oh wait, I tend to thrive. I tend to take it more seriously
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in a position of leadership or when I'm in a position where I know that like I'm making a difference.
Mm.
You know, so it was it it was kind of a no brainer when I realized, oh wait, I actually like cutting hair. For
Yeah.
me to go, you know what? Maybe I should try to like open my own one day.
Yeah.
So then I put my energy into or towards trying to get that done.
Mm. When did you first discover your passion for barbering?
When I was in SoCal in San Diego, it was it was kind of by accident, but yeah, it was in SoCal for sure, and
Mm.
I got in it at the right time while I was down there. There was what they called a barbering renaissance,
Mm-hmm.
where like there were new barbershops opening up, and there are all these celebrity barbers starting off and everything else, and I was like, oh, this can actually be something. I
Yeah.
can actually like support myself and pay my rent if I did this. And it kind of just took off from there. It wasn't like I started barber college and I was like, you know what? I want to actually not just be a barber, but I want to
Mm-hmm.
like affect the barbering community in my way. So,
In the when you were going to barber school after getting out of barber, what did you do before barbering?
um, I did a lot of different jobs. Um, right before I went into barber college, was in Fresno working in the Bank of America call center. And the best thing that happened for me was I got laid off.
Mm.
Because if I didn't get laid off, I was convinced that I was going to be a banker of some sort,
You would have
doing
been in our industry.
exactly. Me and you, we would have been cohorts.
Hello, Habe.
I would be in my uncomfortable shoes right now, and everything else with it. But it didn't work out, and I feel as though the experiences I've had with that job directly correlate with what I'm doing now in terms of customer service.
Right.
Learning how to talk to somebody who might not be the happiest about the
Mm-hmm.
experience they're having, and finding words to actually show them that you understand what they're saying and you understand how they're feeling even more so, has taken me a long way. And I feel as though that's one of the things that kind of gives me an edge over a lot of other people is I am very customer service aware.
Mm-hmm.
I I go into businesses now, and I'm conscious of what type of service I'm getting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
conscious of, oh wait, that server is definitely not happy here. They hate their job,
Yeah.
or yeah, that person, like, they understand that right now the most important thing is making sure that they're making this person feel comfortable. So within my business, one of the things I try to train my barbers on is, taking the time to observe people and
Mm-hmm.
observe like what they might be going through, and trying to support them through that as well.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's very important, especially in any kind of business industry that you really do. I think if you
Yeah.
truly understand your clients and you're providing more than just just a service to them,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
you're adding
It's a
value.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, you're adding
Absolutely.
value, the relationship that you're building. I think when you were saying that I had a stuttering problem, and now you said you worked at a bank call center.
Yeah, it was weird.
But that's a training mechanism, because I'll tell you this. So I was horrible at communication, talking to
Hmm.
people, and things like that. And I don't think I'm the best, but it took a long time for me to practice to actually
Oh, absolutely.
speak and write clearly
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'm writing essays or things or
Yeah.
reports. When I was when I was in college for law enforcement, I actually took a short part-time job. It was the suicidal call center.
Oh, wow.
And I took that is because it helped me communicate with individuals that are in a very high stress level. It
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
allowed
yeah.
me to see the world in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, if you truly want to learn how to communicate, how to really understand the level of individual, to feel compassionate, to feel
Oh,
understanding,
yeah.
then I think a lot of people should do that and just put themselves in that kind of position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I definitely remember when I started off, there was a lot of stuttering and grammatical pauses and so on, because I'm like, oh my God. And after going through that and realizing, okay, well, it's not really what I say, but how I say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also me making sure that I take that half second before I talk to go, what do I need to actually get across?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of changed things up for me a lot. So, yeah, I would go to work and I would have 8 to 10 hours to sit there and practice, talking and getting my thoughts across, and also learning how people behave when
Mm-hmm.
I speak. And in the process of that, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is something that I can at least get a better mastery of. I don't think I have it mastered, but learning how to communicate
Mm-hmm.
effectively, I think it's a lifelong journey.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
like, you're constantly working on it and challenging yourself to be better.
And then when you're using it for entrepreneur side, it
Oh,
becomes
yeah.
so
Oh, it's
effective.
super important.
It's super important because it's about getting the information to the person, and the
Mm-hmm.
person hopefully understanding the information you're giving them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so
The other part of that, too, is, and one of the reasons why I was drawn to you in terms of even what you had to say was, there's a saying, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And the way you go about delivering information, you start off by making sure people understand how much you care. And then from there, they're willing to give you whatever grace needed, wherever you might fall short as well.
mhm.
So
You're
you
just
do that
tooting
really
his
well.
horn, huh? How come I don't see that side?
Thank you.
Where's that side, Ethan? I'm just
See,
kidding.
he spends it all out there, and then he
Yeah.
comes in here like,
Yeah.
give me
Comes in
my.
here and is
Yeah,
like,
he
oh,
just
I'm just
demands things from me.
I'm just done. No, but I think in total in all business, it's though that's very very important.
It's important,
And I
regardless of what industry you're in.
I agree.
Yeah.
yeah, and
I
what I
agree.
love about the barbers that you have and the barbers that are working with you is that they are learning from you. Whenever I talk to some of your barbers, they're like, "Yeah, you know, Abe has a different mindset, a different mind shift, and it's always coming a little different. It's not all the same all the time."
I like that they're being polite in front of you. Half of them will be like, that Abe is a tyrant.
maybe
He's,
maybe after a few shots,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
we'll
Loosen them
hear.
up.
But no, but I mean, when you started the business or when you started your barbershop, your entrepreneur, were you hesitant to say, this is the right time to do it? Were you saying, hey, you know what? I know this is the right time. I have the skill. I have,
Yeah.
you know, what's that confirmation saying I'm ready to take on this journey, no matter how difficult it is?
You know what? I think that there's not enough value placed on desperation. And I don't mean desperation from the standpoint only of like, okay, if I don't do this, I'm not gonna eat, but also the desperation of like being who you are. You know, I know there's a whole subculture of people currently striving to, express their identity and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. But sometimes, even if you don't have an issue with your identity, part of your identity is you living to your purpose.
Mm.
So for me, I felt as though I had a level of desperation in that I knew that I wasn't doing or being who I wanted to be overall as a human being. I wasn't living to the best version of myself. So along the way, I realized, I just need that vehicle, whatever that
Hmm.
vehicle is. As soon as I find it, I'm gonna kill it. And so once I started looking at barbering, and I actually went to barber college and started learning how to cut, I was like, this is that vehicle I've been praying for.
Mm.
Oh no, I owe it to myself to like go after it. Like I can't like waste this opportunity. I have to like actually go for it. So for me, it wasn't a matter of like, okay, well, you know what? Next Tuesday's right. It was like, no, right now, like today. I have to do it today. I have to do it right now.
Mm.
So then that that fire came from me being sick and tired of just, barely getting by or
Yeah.
hoping this job works out or hoping this work. It's like no, like I don't have time. You know, I'm, you know, I'm looking around at everybody in my life and all the people I admire. They go for it. They do things. They don't just say I'm gonna
Hmm.
do it. They actually do it. And I've spent all my life saying I'm gonna do it.
Right.
So then once I found something that made sense, I was like, I have to do it. Kind of like with Dia. She
Hmm.
started off, just sending out a few here and there and
Yeah.
people bought it. And she's like, wait a minute, I can do this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what resources do I have? Okay, I can get $500. I'm gonna sell $500 worth of stuff.
Hmm.
See what happens. And then she just took that and ran with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same way with this. For me, I've always kind of operated with a sense of desperation. Like if I don't do it right now, it's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
And because of that, I don't waste too much time sitting there
Hmm.
wondering if what will happen if it doesn't, because that's gonna be the killer of my dreams.
Right. Fear. Right. That fear.
Exactly.
I think the like man, it's so powerful because that when you said that desperation, I've heard that from people that have millions of money when they
Yeah.
first started.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're trying to start it now, they have millions of money. But I recently spoke. I want to say in June or July, I spoke to this CEO, and he owns a financial company. And I said, what made you push yourself so far because what he's doing is what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
And he said, even when I first started, I was just desperate in success, just desperate in doing something, and
Just
especially,
hungry, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
trying to find it. And I think what you said is that urgency too, man, it's so powerful. I think more and more entrepreneur that has that mindset when they're starting off a business in a business, again, it's very important because I was looking at the average income for barbershop owners here, and they average about $53,000 in the average, but they can make more than that
Oh
if
yeah,
they yeah
definitely.
if they continue to build that. Now, when now as a barber individually, what do they averagely would bring in? Would you say in California here?
Um, it depends on, your specific work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was initially researching it prior to getting into it, on Google it said $35,000, and I was like, okay, that doesn't feel like much. I called a friend who was already a barber, and he was like, "Oh no, it's way more.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what is being put on paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's way more." And then now that I'm in the industry, I can confidently say, um, if you have the work ethic and you are dedicated to the field, you can easily make six figures,
Mm.
As a
like
barber.
as a barber,
Mm,
just
wow.
working out of
Ultimately, it
barber
comes down
shops.
to the relationships that you have with people too.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
the relationships you have, your professionalism, how
Right.
much you're charging, how you go about attracting and retaining clientele,
Right.
all that matters. The people that get into it with a business mindset, yeah, like they decide how much they're gonna like make a year easily,
Mm-hmm.
and they also decide how much they're gonna talk about. But ultimately, yeah, you can definitely make a lot more. I think owning a barbershop, it's glamorized,
Mm.
because you're the boss. You get to hire and fire people.
Yeah.
But, like financially, there's not really that much of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your goal is to make as much money as possible, it's actually not to your advantage to be a business owner rather than working at a really good barbershop,
Mm.
because then you can just go in, focus on getting paid, and leave.
Right.
When you own it, your day starts the second the last day ended,
Mm-hmm.
and you're the one dealing with the overhead costs.
Right.
You're the one dealing with the broken chair. You're the one dealing with the one barber that doesn't want to, you know, be a professional.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one doing all these other things that pulls you away from actually making that money or building up that brand or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes I would say like if I was to interview like 10 barbers who are interested in working in my shop, none of them are going to say, yeah, I want to be a barbershop owner one day. But then when they actually start working, you realize no, they just want to make a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
which is absolutely okay. But there's this false sense that the only way you're going to make the most amount of money is by owning a shop, when that's not really the reality. There
Mm.
there are a lot of barbers out there who are celebrities now, who are making their own clippers and this and that have never owned a shop and never needed to. I have barbers who take trips that I fantasize about. Why? Because they're making all the money they need and some, and
Mm.
because they don't have the responsibilities of owning a shop.
Yeah.
They're free to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and take a month
Right.
off, or
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and fly out to wherever, and they come back, their chair's still there, the
Mm-hmm.
shop didn't burn down,
Yes.
their clientele is still there and it's still working. The lights are still on. All that's still there. But for me to take a trip like that, I have to plan. I have to
Right.
really plan. for
That's
any
like
of that
you
to
closing
happen.
down your business. Yeah.
Exactly. So one of the conversations I try to have with people is, I know you're saying you want to be a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
but why?
Right.
What is your actual reason why? For me, I know why I want to do it because it's part of what I believe my purpose is. But why do you actually want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
So let's explore that a little bit more. So,
Absolutely. I think that's like the misunderstood side of entrepreneurship. It sounds very glamorized.
oh yeah,
We do have a lot of freedom, but at the same time, we work really hard. There's no clocking in and clocking out because we're here from morning until night. I mean,
yeah, but they
every
don't see that.
right, they don't see
They just
that.
see you pull up in a nice car.
Exactly. They
They
see the end result.
exactly,
But it's like, no, it's like there was this quote that I love, and it says that they say that we're the dreamers, but we're actually the ones who don't sleep at all, right?
exactly.
Because we're constantly grinding.
Oh,
But no,
so
like,
many nights of like sitting there trying to make sure that
yeah,
I paid all the bills on time,
right.
or such and such is their equipment works just right, or oh yeah, there was that electrical thing that I needed to take care of.
Oh, yeah.
Like you end up being everything to everyone without the acknowledgement. And I mean, you shouldn't be doing it for the acknowledgement, but my challenge is when the perception is that, oh, you're lucky,
Yeah.
and it's like, lucky, lucky, okay, lucky, nice, thank you.
Right. It's not luck.
Yeah, no, it's work.
Exactly.
So you left your 9 to 5 jobs to work 24 hours.
Exactly.
Okay, that
And
sounds
get
good.
paid a little bit less.
Right.
Like
With
if I
more
was,
stress.
oh yeah, if I was on salary, yeah, I could retire like at 55, no problem. But nah, that's not the case. Like you have to have like your burning reason why you want to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Your actual like desire to like do more than just own a business.
Right.
Do more than have a business card that says owner, which is the other reason why I don't really care for the title of, oh, I'm a business owner. I don't really care for it. It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't make me feel good.
Hmm.
I'm a barber. That's what I tell people. I cut hair.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I also try to manage businesses and so on and so forth as well.
Mm.
So
Abe, going back to just when you started the business, what would you say was the most challenging thing that you had to learn on your own?
that's a good question. The most challenging thing I had to learn on my own. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. Um, I think convincing, yeah, I would say convincing people of my vision.
Mm.
Because, everybody wants to get on board when they can see it there.
Yeah.
But when there's nothing there to show people, then it's like, no, trust me, it's going to work. I
Right.
promise you it's going to work. Well, where's your proof? You just got to trust me.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's in my head.
sure, okay. So you want me to give you how much? Nah.
Right.
So I would say that because even when we first opened, I made it a point to be strategic about how I went about recruiting barbers.
Hmm.
And even now, I make it clear the way my barbershop runs is intentionally different from how other people run their business. It's intentionally focused on specific things. And with that, it's not meant for every barber, and it's not even meant for every customer.
Mm.
There's certain clientele that we turn away like immediately because we
Mm.
already know like it's not going to work.
Right.
So getting other people to buy into that reality is a challenge at the beginning, just like anything else. Um, Imagine electricity. Somebody was in there like, hey, I can do that
Yeah.
thing you do with a candle. I can do that
Right.
without burning this whole place down. When he
Yeah.
first said it, everybody was probably
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
But now, I mean, you can't imagine life without electricity.
Right.
I mean, we're using it just to do this. So, being able to sell that vision.
Oh yeah.
That was probably the most challenging thing that I can think of off the top of my head.
I love that. I can totally relate. I remember being like 22 years old when I started this industry, and yeah, having to convince people and also show them like my vision and my dream. And imagine being so young trying to convince people who are
Oh
much
yeah,
older than you, right?
especially your
Oh
family.
yeah, especially your
Your
family.
family, like, since they love you so much and they want to see your success,
Yeah,
they're like, make it make sense.
right.
Wait, how are you gonna pay for groceries?
Exactly.
Wait, how are you gonna get gas?
Yeah,
And it's like, no, 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 trust me, this thing is gonna work. This
right.
investment thing, and you can have it all laid out.
Hmm.
But since there's nobody that they can point at and go, oh yeah, oh you mean like that person,
Yeah,
it's hard for them to actually be able to visualize it the way you see it. So
absolutely.
oftentimes you have to be willing to look like the crazy
Hmm.
person,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh
and
yeah.
then eventually when it starts, growing legs and starts taking off, then they're like, I believed in you the whole
Yeah.
time. I knew you had it in
You
you.
made that look easy.
Yeah, you, I knew you could do it.
You
It's
remember
like,
that time I said you can do
yeah,
it?
exactly.
Right.
I always told your mom. I always told your mom you were gonna be the special one.
Right.
I knew it. It's like, thanks, uncle.
I hear
So,
that a lot too. Trust me, it's not just you. Especially, I think coming from a big family, I think there's always going to be doubts.
oh
Especially,
yeah,
sometimes it's hard, especially coming from the closest family. When you have
Yeah.
and like you said, the vision part that's very important because when you have a vision, people don't see your vision because it's yours.
absolutely, absolutely.
And so eventually, when you start building your vision, they start seeing the vision, but they want to add on to the
Oh
vision.
yeah,
And it makes it difficult is because, like you said, oh, you know what? Some people say, I've always knew that you were going to be like this. But,
yeah,
around the line,
exactly.
we see the truth.
My first couple of years, I got a lot of. You know what else you should do in here? You know what you should be. You know what you should add in here. You know what's gonna bring you real business. And thank you. This is from the same person that didn't think
Yeah.
that this was a good idea in the first place. Couldn't imagine me making a living cutting hair. Yeah, please tell me more about your grand business idea that you've never done.
Hmm.
So you're always gonna get that.
Yeah. Well, when you started the business, going through all that, going through those challenges, understanding really how to do the barbering, what in the middle of it, I think you said you've opened your barbershop's been around for about how many
Yeah,
years?
over 5 years.
Over five
Mhm.
years. And within those 5 years, there are two crucial years that hit pretty hard for a lot of
Yeah.
barbers. And not
Yes.
just barbers, but for a lot of business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the COVID years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When
Pandemic.
COVID
Oh, good old
when
COVID.
when COVID hit, were you cutting hair in the garage?
No,
No, okay,
because
cool.
I had a barbershop.
So, and during those COVID, I mean, during that COVID time, did you have to find new strategies to up your level? Because I know that I was looking for barbers all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that if I have to know somebody personally that's cut my hair already, and sometimes they're like, you know what, I'm not doing it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or you know what, you can come over to my house, but I live all the way, 50 miles
Yeah.
away from you, and things like that. And so I get my hair cut
Yeah.
every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
During that time, how did you strategize your team, and how did you work around what was going on?
Um. Yeah. COVID was an amazing time. I now now I look at COVID as a blessing in disguise because it actually uh, ended up being one of the better things to happen for my business. Leading up to that, I was in this like almost desperate state where I was trying to hold to my principles and my philosophies of how I wanted my business ran, but I was also trying to make concessions for people who did not completely believe in the vision.
Mm.
When COVID hit, it was like a great reset, but it was also obviously stressful and scary.
Right.
We didn't know what it was or how we were going to be able to get around it. And there was definitely a stretch for a month where I closed everything down, sent all of my barbers home until we could figure out what it was going to be. the majority of them actually never returned.
Mm.
So I end up in a situation where it's like, okay, well, how am I even going to be able to operate? And what ended up happening was we ended up, once I realized a lot of other places are still open, they're just doing private services.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was I actually streamlined my business to where I had my most loyal clientele who understood what the situation was. I was charging absorbently more,
Mm.
but all that money basically ensured us being able to keep the lights on,
Yeah.
pay the bills, and so on and so forth. And literally, I would bring them in one at a time and take care of them that way. Eventually, I had one of my barbers come back, and we would take turns. Like, okay, you got all day Tuesday, so it's one at a time. After they leave, you gotta disinfect and clean everything. Then the next, and so on and so forth. And I'll do the same the other day. And we kind of worked it out that way. That way, they were able to still be able to provide for their family and so on. But it was certainly a challenge from a lot of different angles. But ultimately, I felt like it was a great thing because there were a lot of businesses that shut down. There were a lot of businesses that looked extremely successful leading up to COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of like the great exposure, where it's like this is like the greatest stress test you're ever going to
Yeah.
face, and a lot of businesses didn't make it. So for me, looking at my business and us making it through that, I was like, okay, that means that we're investing in the right places
Yeah.
because my goal has always been to create a community center that's disguised as a barbershop.
Mm.
So when all this stuff happened, the community wrapped itself around my barbershop and they were like, no, we got you. We want to keep you here.
Yeah.
So they were still supporting it through all that stuff. So for me, it's like, okay, well, that's actually what I need to make sure that I'm investing in.
Mm-hmm.
So within my shop, whenever I'm bringing in new barbers, I make it clear to them, hey, look, you're here in service of the community. This barbershop belongs to this community.
Mm.
So it's not me you need to impress.
Right.
It's John over there who's been coming here for the last 5 years. If John doesn't sign off on you, if the other barbers don't sign off on you, this is not going to be the right place for you. And because we've always kept that mindset and that approach, what's happened is that the people we bring in, I don't have to worry too much about them
Mm-hmm.
because all the other barbers, the community, all these other people, they're giving me instant feedback
Yeah.
constantly. Like, yeah, I like that guy. I like that girl. She's a hard worker. Oh, there's something about her. I like her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I go about like sifting through the people who are going to be a good fit and who are not. But also, even back to your question, that's what helped us through COVID was we make the shop community oriented.
I love that.
So
It's helped. So I think pandemic for you guys, it's really helped you refine your vision and what you wanted
absolutely,
for your.
100%.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
is a
and
blessing in
like new
disguise.
strategies had to,
Yeah.
even us, we had to implement new strategies.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
We did a lot of Zoom,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm not a big fan of Zoom, honestly.
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
clients
I would like you. I
are
would. I
not.
would like to see you do a Zoom of cutting people's hair.
It would be very boring. But you know what? Zoom. Uh-oh. Hello. Oh, there you go. Zoom to me is probably one of the biggest examples of like being nimble
Mm-hmm.
as a business.
Mm-hmm.
Because before COVID, nobody knew what Zoom was,
Right.
but everybody knew what Skype was, right?
Yes.
But then COVID happens. That is Skype's like golden moment to
Yeah.
like, yo, we're here. We're the new Nike of communication. And they fumbled.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everybody's like, hey, let's do this conference on Zoom. It's like, what? What is Zoom?
Right.
So to me, I always think about Zoom and I'm like, you got my respect because you figured out how to be nimble.
Yeah.
When everybody else was still like, oh no, we're just fine, we're okay. They're like, no, 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 this is an opportunity.
Right.
So oftentimes, I think the saying is, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
So some people would say Zoom was lucky,
Yeah.
and Zoom is like, no, we've been getting ready
Yeah.
for this. We were hungry.
Right.
We were standing there at the door like, is this it? Is it okay? Go now. And because of
Exactly.
that, boom, they jumped ahead of Skype. I don't know any time when I've made a Skype phone call. I barely
That's right.
FaceTime, but I Zoom at least once a week.
Yeah.
I forgot
I
about
have
Skype.
FaceTime on my phone, and I'll still bypass that and go to Zoom to Zoom and talk to people.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, all these other things were already in place. But since they weren't willing to be nimble, since they weren't willing to recognize the opportunity, they got passed up
Yeah.
immediately.
Yep.
So yeah,
I think Zoom really changed the game. I should have invested into Zoom a little bit more, but or we
seriously,
should have.
imagine if you had bought stocks right before COVID.
Yeah, I
You'd
mean,
be retired right now.
Yeah.
you would be well.
You'd be very well.
And I think Zoom really changed it. I mean, for us, we did a lot of Zoom,
Yeah.
but I think some of us we were more of keen to taking care of families because we still got bills, we still
Yeah.
got things to do,
Absolutely.
and things like that. And I think it just kind of changes the whole mindset of I don't know if I can continue to do this and how long, because what we realized was that in your life, yeah, you dictate a lot of things that you do, but one thing can change so many people's life.
Oh, absolutely.
And during that time, when COVID hit, I helped 6 business close down. And these are all restaurant business.
Oh man.
Restaurant business. And it was sad. They had funds saved aside, but I mean, of course, they still have bills to pay.
Yeah.
Overhead
They
and
were
all.
they were
Overhead
still
costs.
on those small business loans that they had to take care of. I even had one home care business that went bankrupt. She filed for bankrupt.
Oh man.
And it was just so sad to see. And, there was support coming from the community, but it was not enough, especially if you owned a home care during that time. Because home care was not really ineffective during the time. And some of them are essential, some of them are not essential.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of sad to see see COVID do that. But I think that people that, like what you said, people in business that are able to pass those kind of small pebble struggle it really shows their true color of what they are and how much they can what they've been preparing for.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's amazing. That I'm glad that your guys barbershop is still going.
Yeah.
I'm grateful
and
for it.
and it's even now. I mean, I went to go get my haircut a week or two ago, and it's still very, very nice. Now, what I like to ask you is that, so a barbershop, when most people think about barbershop, can you tell us, when most people think about barbershop, people that have never gone to barbershop, what do they think of?
They think of the traditional, I guess, stereotype of a barbershop where, it's a bunch of guys in there ogling women, you know, profanity left and right, late to the appointment, people sitting there for hours and hours waiting. Hopefully that barber's going to choose me so I can get my haircut. Okay, I'm stuck with the worst barber in the room. The whole bit. We definitely try to do it differently.
I see that, yes.
We take pride in doing it a lot, or at least like making it a more modern feel. So we take pride in number one, like no one usually waits more than like 5 to 10 minutes for a haircut. Whether you're walking in or you've already made an appointment, we take pride in making sure that we are punctual because everyone's time is valuable. And I feel like one of the biggest disrespect you can give somebody is to not value their time.
Right.
You
Agree.
expect them to pay you full price, but you're going to shortchange them on the time they're
Right.
paying you for. I mean, if I'm working an hourly job, I shouldn't expect to get paid my full wage if I'm only working half the time,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm not doing what I'm actually being paid for. I feel like you're kind of stealing from the people that you're working for. So for us, our view that I feel like I'm the custodian of is making sure that people come in, they feel welcomed. We try to make sure that we are sensitive to who's in the shop in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on who's in the shop, the conversation might be different, the entertainment might be different, the music will definitely be different. But we go through those lengths to make sure that everyone feels welcomed and everyone feels comfortable. There are a lot of single moms that come to our shop and they'll just hang out, while their kid is getting their haircut.
Yeah.
At previous shops, it's like, okay, Billy, go in there. I'll be in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Come out when you're done, because they don't want to
Right.
be in that environment where now you have men say inappropriate things or being being childish or anything like that. So we try, and I have to emphasize try because it's not never a perfect
Mm-hmm.
anything, but we try to make sure that we're always sensitive to that as well.
I've seen that about your barbershop. It's that's why I think I said it's very different in here because I see more kids
Yeah, we have
come.
a lot of kids.
Yeah, a lot of kids that comes to your barber, and it's a different atmosphere. And I've seen where you said you cater more towards what the clients are
Yeah.
looking at. How your audience is, and I really respect that because I've been to a lot
Mm-hmm.
of barbershop, and it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, one of the things that I know for sure we're all at the barbershop we're proud of is there are kids who literally have grown up in the barbershop already. We've only
Mm-hmm.
been around 5 years.
Yeah.
And there are kids who, started coming, and they got their first haircut there with such and such barber. They're still coming there now. And yeah, they might have a different barber now or whatever, but it's still the same welcoming
Yeah.
atmosphere, still the same energy. They're relating with that barber on a personal level. Something I like to impress on all of my barbers because they are leaders. Um, they are individual businesses of their own. Something I try to impress on them is oftentimes you are the model for fashion. You're also the model for how adults interact with each other, how adults interact with kids, how men interact with women. You're teaching all these things by virtue of your behavior. So, whether or not that kid's in your chair or in someone else's chair, they're watching you
Mm-hmm.
and they're watching your behavior and so on and so forth. So, if you're putting out behavior that you wouldn't want your kids learning, just understand that kid over there is learning it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
oftentimes, even with the parents, they're watching because I don't know a single parent out there who's not trying to make sure that they put their kids in the best environment
Right.
possible. So, parents, there are parents now who will drop off their kids and go run errands, but it's not because they don't appreciate the environment, but it's because they trust us to that extent now.
Yeah.
They know, okay, this is a safe place for my kid to be, and that also is a joy in itself as well. So,
So you're saying that if I need like a 1 hour break and free child care, I'm just kidding.
Abe is not sponsoring that message.
So Abe, I was telling Ethan too that I've never been in a barber shop. The thought of me going in is actually intimidating for me
Yeah.
because I think I don't know what kind of services are offered. Um, and I've always thought that barbershops are only for men. So can you enlighten us, like people like me, like if I were to come into your shop, what kind of services do you guys provide, if any, for women?
We do have, I want to say, at least 3 barbers who also got training in like cutting women's hair.
Mm,
So like basic stuff like
yeah.
trimming your ends and so on and so forth. We tend to kind of stray away from that for the
Okay.
most part, but like there are actually quite a lot of women that do come to our shop. I know for myself personally, I have at least 6 I want to say at least 6 regulars who are women,
Mm.
and they come in to, get their hair shaped up or
Yeah.
whatever else. And it's all inclusive. We actually have women who are barbers as well there.
Mm.
So they end up making relationships and
Yeah.
building bonds as well. But ultimately, it's intended to be a place where if you have short hair or short-ish hair or whatever,
Mhm.
you're always welcome there. Just about most of our barbers take advantage of doing additional services, whether it's facial massages,
Mm.
washing hair, and so on and so forth. And we're constantly kind of morphing and shifting in terms of what we do offer, because there are barbers who like doing different things.
Right.
I have a barber currently who is getting into waxing.
Yeah.
So he's kind of practicing that on his downtime and trying to learn more about that. I've had barbers who like to color hair.
Mhm.
So then they start marketing that more and more and advertising that, and then they attract a different breed of clientele as well.
Right.
So I like that it's ever changing. I mean, it's like a kid. Like one year you like, Blue's Clues.
Right.
Next year you all of a sudden like, Power Rangers or whatever.
Right.
But it's like, because of that, it attracts the community as a whole, and there are people with different needs, and oftentimes if uh, if it's within the scope of what we have available, we'll make it work. We always
Mm.
do.
Thank you for
So
that.
for sure,
I'll have
you're
to
always welcome
I'll
to
have to
come
come
by.
in just to get the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You are absolutely welcome. We get a lot of that as well, where people walk by and they poke their head
Yeah.
in, and my favorite thing is to be like, yeah, come on in, walk
Right.
around, look around. Yeah, there's a break room. Yeah, go check it out. And it's with the mindset of, I want this to feel like your community. I want it
Yeah.
to reflect the community that we're in. But also I want people to understand that it doesn't have to be the stereotypical or
Mhm.
the traditional
Yeah.
feel where it's like you walk in and there's some guy that doesn't know how to control his language, and there's inappropriate stuff on the television or whatever else. For me, it's as simple as just being mindful of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, we've been able to kind of create our own niche by making sure that we are being, aware of who we're actually serving, and
Mhm.
catering to them as well.
Right.
It's the barbering. I've realized that it's changed a lot. So I travel, from the East Coast, West Coast. I go back and forth, and I was telling one of your barber that not too long ago I was in Atlanta, Georgia, getting my I didn't know any barbers up there, so I looked around, seeing what kind of barber shops there are around, and I'm like, man, I need to get a haircut. I have a meeting tomorrow, a presentation, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just find the nearest barber shop.
Ooh.
And I went to the nearest barber shop, and it is interesting because the barber shop over here to over there has changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, the barber shop I went to, one of those barber shops that you go in there, everybody kind of, shoot the shit around. There's no
Mm-hmm.
music, no nothing, but more older folks. I got out of that
What
barber
you want, young buck?
I got out of that barber shop. I didn't realize that they can make my hairline that small. And I'm like, wow, it's very, very different from each barber shop and
Absolutely.
what they expertise at. But can you tell us what the difference between a fade and a taper is? You know,
I only learned about that during COVID when I had to try to do my husband's hair
Oh my
and
God.
failed miserably.
Yeah, thank you for that, because you keep us in business.
Yes. Yes.
So the most simplified way of describing it, a fade is usually when you start your blend on the side of the temple and go up, and then you do another blend from the back and go up. Now there's a variation between a shadow fade and a skin fade. So the shadow fade is when there's still a little bit of hair, and then it builds up to the full bulk of the hair. Skin fade, of course, is where you would shave it bald. Most oftentimes you would hit it with a box shaver to make it smooth. Then you blend up from there. A fade itself. Wait a minute, did I say that wrong? I said a fade, right?
Yeah, you said a fade or a taper.
Okay, so with the taper, you start from the temple. With the full fade, you're actually gonna do the blend all the way around. So you're gonna bald it out or cut it short all the way around the entire head, and then do the blend uniformly all the way up. So right now I'm wearing a taper. So it's bald here, blends up here, but then the bulk of the hair is still right here. With the fade, it would be balded all the way around the side of my head, and then the fade would go up from there instead. So it's a slight.
Oh man, there's a whole art to it.
Oh yeah, and also on top of that, there's different terminologies regionally. Some places like California, it's a fade and fades and tapers. Other places, you're talking about a Caesar or a light Caesar or a clevatus and so on. So, I mean, even with that terminology, it can get really convoluted really quick.
I would have thought that was a salad.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
In California, it's a salad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, because of that, oftentimes we encourage people, if you don't know what you want, or if you know what you want and you can find a picture of it,
Yeah.
just bring in a picture.
Right.
Otherwise, the other thing, I believe one of the greatest tools any barber has is their ability to communicate with everybody.
Absolutely.
So it shouldn't really be about, that old school picture on the wall. We don't even do that. I'm like, no, that's horrible. I don't care for that. So instead, it challenges my team to communicate clearly with people. Instead of what number you want, it's okay, well, what do you want your hair to look like?
Right.
Exactly. Because even with the pictures, and that was something that happened when I was in barber college, I was looking at the pictures and I was like, all of those are horrible haircuts. Like, no, I
And
wouldn't
it's
want.
not a one size fits all.
It's not.
Yeah.
So then, because of that, like when I was starting my own shop, I was like, we don't need that. Like everybody has a phone now. Everybody can pull up Google.
Yeah.
Everybody can find a celebrity that has something they like. Well, then just do that.
Right.
If not, let's have a conversation. If I'm a professional, let's say I'm a professional chef. I'm going to understand how the ingredients work together.
Right.
And I could probably even point you towards the best wine that goes good with that meal you just picked. Well, if I'm a barber, shouldn't I be able to then tell you, you know what? Your hair shape, your head shape, and the texture of your hair, this would be a better haircut for you.
Yeah.
So it kind of forces the barber into a position where they have to have that conversation and show that knowledge. The challenge is some of us, we nerd out at being barbers. So instead of us saying, okay, well, what type of haircut you want? Okay, so you want a little bit bald right here? Okay, do you want it bald all the way around, or do you want it bald in the back?
Yeah.
And they'll go, oh, so you want a taper or a fade? Okay, you want a hard part? How many inches off the top? Okay, so on the crown of your hair. Okay, let's talk about your parietal ridge. It's like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
Okay, well, how long do you usually have it? How do you like to wear your hair?
Yeah.
Simple questions
Right.
that give me all the information I need without then burdening you to have a bachelor's in hairology or whatever, so.
What would you say is the most challenging technique that you do as a barber?
I would say in terms of challenging, and I like the way you put that because you didn't say hardest, because I don't really think there's such a thing as hardest.
Yeah.
It's what do you choose to focus your time on? I love the challenge of doing designs.
Mm.
I feel like that's something that, 5 people can come in and I'll say, I want you to do a star on my head. And it gives the barber the freedom to actually sit there and actually be creative.
Yeah.
I love that challenge. For myself, I take it personal to where I try to make it slightly different. So it could be 5 different people asking for the same thing.
Yeah.
I challenge myself to make it unique to each person based off of their hair texture, the size of their heads, and so on and so forth. But I would say that is definitely a challenge. One of my least favorite challenges would probably be more salon style work,
Mm.
where it kind of is on the outer fringes of what our scope of expertise is supposed to be. Believe it or not, there's different techniques for women's hair and cosmetology style work
Mm.
versus barbering, where it's more shorter hair and so on and so forth.
Right.
So that would probably be another challenge that I personally kind of shy away from,
Mm-hmm.
just because I can do it, but I'm not confident in
Right.
doing it. So I'm like, you know what? I would much rather do it for free, you know, that way if it doesn't come out exactly the way you want, I don't feel like I stole from you.
Yeah.
But I have barbers who are just amazing at it, and I always catch myself just like watching in awe, like, oh my God, look at
Yeah.
that, look at those layers. Is that a line? Wow. Okay, I see you. So with each barber, I love the freedom of being able to still go back and learn, and being
Yeah.
like a student at your
Right.
craft for real. All of the barbers I respect and admire, it seems as though they're always learning. They're always challenging themselves to do something completely out of their scope, or learn something that
Absolutely.
you would never expect them knowing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say that would be it for me.
That's awesome. And I was going to ask you to clarify the difference between a salon and barber, but I think you just did.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's good to know.
I jumped ahead of you.
No, I love
You
it.
know, I used to go to a salon for a long time, and it's always of they have. It's interesting how they do it and how you guys do it. So one of my good friend owned a different barber in a different state, and I remember he started barbering, but he became to a when he started barbering, I think you have to go to a lot of barbers to find who is almost the right barber for you, or who knows how to do your head shape or things like that.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it's relational.
Yeah.
It's definitely a relationship. So
And
you always want to check in on that.
one of my good friend, he owned a barber shop, but I never went to him. I never went to him because I knew how he cut hair, because I let him cut my hair once, and it wasn't something like I like. And I'm like,
Never
and
again.
I told him, I said, I know you're really good at cutting hair, but I just feel like you can't cut my head. Sorry, my hair is because of my head shape or something. Because sometimes when I go, and a lot of people think this, that, oh, you go into a barber shop, they'll just cut it. They don't even ask you
Hmm.
what you want or something like that. And a lot of people go to salon is because the salon, they don't specialize in what you said, in really understanding the hair follicles of the
Hmm.
men, of, okay,
Hmm.
well, what to take off a little bit and what not to, and things like that. And the nice thing is that at the barbershop, it does take a little longer, but they do take their time to make it very, very even, very,
Yeah,
very
exactly.
clean. So going into that, how do they know? Does each barber know? Okay, well, 1 hour of my time is worth this much, that I'm gonna charge this much, or is it, okay? Well, this is the average that barbers are charging. This is what I'm gonna stick with until I can be better than this barber, and then I'll maybe bump it up.
The great barber pricing debate.
Yeah.
It has been it has been running amok for decades now, and there's no sign of it stopping. So I would say there's two major streams of thought. One is, you know, survey the area around you and charge within the median of what everybody else is charging.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other stream of thought is charge based on your level of skill or
Mm-hmm.
expertise. There's a third and maybe even a fourth and fifth rail. One is like, okay, well, if you charge it, they will come. So I'm gonna weed out all the people that are
Mm.
broke or
Yeah.
or can't afford my services because I'm doing all these things. So I'm gonna charge according to what I do and wait patiently for me to attract the type of people who are
Mm-hmm.
gonna pay what I'm worth. Um, I am not here to say any one side is right or wrong. So I'm not gonna give you that at all. But with that, there ends up being this wild variation of prices. For us, our approach is more based on us looking at what services we're offering, um, the median income of the area we're in, and then taking into account the quality of the work we're doing as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I have some barbers in my shop who are so busy that I've actually told them, you know what, you're undercharging
Mm.
because at the rate you're working, you're actually more valuable.
Yeah.
So you should actually be charging more. By you charging more, yes, you're going to lose some clientele. They're going to go to the next barber next to you, but you're not going to lose any money. If anything, you're probably going to make more money
Mm-hmm.
because then you're in a position where it gives you even more time to be able to specialize and be
Right.
meticulous at what you do and maybe even get a lunch break. Who knows?
Right.
Versus you staying behind the chair charging $40 or whatever and only leaving home with so much money, but feeling like you had to do so much more work just to get there.
Right.
So it's something that we're constantly actually surveying and constantly trying to make sure that we're adjusting accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the advice I saw that made the most sense was from a barber that is highly respected in the industry, but he was talking about if it's a situation where you're booked out like a month in advance, you're probably undervaluing your services.
Oh.
Because I mean, if you're that valuable,
Yeah.
you probably need to be in a higher pricing range
Mm-hmm.
because you're probably in a position where you're not affording yourself the opportunity to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to encourage some of my barbers, the ones who are at that point of their career, to actually make that leap as well. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
I cannot side with either one, but
I think that
you know,
totally makes sense. I think when you're underpaid for the work that you put in the long term, it can cause a little bit of resentment and hate for what you
exactly,
do, right? So you're not performing at your best too. So
exactly.
there's definitely a balance that you have to find there.
Yeah, and the reality is that as barbers, you don't get raises unless if you demand it.
Right.
You don't have paid time off. You don't have
Exactly.
sick days. Okay, you're going on vacation. Great, have fun, but you still need to pay booth rent. So it's like, if you're working from hand to mouth, you're never gonna get a chance to actually take
Mm-hmm.
a break or grow or relax or rest. And I'm grateful that we're in the environment where our community supports us in a way where I do have barbers who are making really good money. I have barbers who recently bought a new car or who've taken that dream vacation to, here or whatever, and they're still able to come back and they still have clientele, they still have
Mm-hmm.
everything they need, and they're still paying their bills. I have barbers who moved out of their parents' house and they're doing great.
Mm.
So for me, like that's my mark of success is
Yeah.
being being able to be in a position where what we're charging is not hurting the community
Right.
and it's also making it worthwhile for the barbers to
Mm-hmm.
stay there.
Exactly.
That's very good. That's a saying, take care of your people and your people take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um another barbershop owner that I respect deeply, Steve,
Yeah, yeah.
um, he quoted Jay-Z to me. He's like, if you don't allow your wolves to eat, eventually you end up on the menu. And I was like,
That's right.
well put. Moral of the story: make sure that you're in the kitchen,
Yeah.
in, inventing multiple ways for everybody to eat.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me how much I get on the front end, because I know if I'm taking care of them, they're gonna take care of the shop.
Mm-hmm.
I can always make my own money and take care of my family, but to build up the shop in a way where we can all be successful has to be the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back to what we're talking about with a community and a team and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. If you build a team where we all have the same focus, we're all gonna get a lot further. So
Right.
That's true.
it has
With,
to be
with
that
with your
mindset.
most important partner in your life, in business, in everything, your wife, the CEO.
No,
No,
the boss
the
herself.
boss herself. Um, what does she think about you doing barber? And I think, I think, let's see here. You've been married for a year and some change.
Actually, 2 years.
2 years.
We're working on year 3 as we
Three.
speak.
Was it?
So
I think last time it was in June or July.
our
Yeah.
anniversary was in July.
July.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mm.
so we're still in there. She
You
hasn't
guys are
killed
still
me yet.
newlyweds.
Yeah, as new as we need to be,
Now,
and it's beautiful.
what does she think about I mean, of course she support your business. I mean, and but in doing your business and putting your time with there, I mean, as myself, my wife say sometimes I love my business more than I spend time with her. And and a lot of people can attest to that here.
Oh yeah.
Oh
But
yeah,
so it's basically another baby that you're
oh
raising
yeah.
and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. But what does she think on her side about you running this business, about you doing this?
Um, you know, I feel like number one, none of us here would be successful without our partners.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You need a partner that has your back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like my wife is my cheat code, honestly. Um, I mean that from the standpoint of like, there have been things I've needed to learn
Mm.
that, like, you know, she's like, oh, you're working on that? Oh, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
This is how you do that. Figure that out. Boom, here you go. Um, Also, when it comes to like the ego that ends up developing from you being in charge of other people,
Mm-hmm.
you need somebody that's going to sit you down and go, yeah, you need to check that. That's not healthy.
Right.
Like, get your life. That's not the person I married. So no, that's not okay. Um, so I lean on her heavily. Whenever I have any major decisions,
Mm-hmm.
I lean on the people closest to me to kind of guide me through it. I pray constantly, but I also listen to them, and
Mm-hmm.
I depend on them being honest with me and being open with me in ways that other people might be afraid to
Mm-hmm.
open up to me or tell me about myself. So I don't I don't believe that my business would have grown the way it did from COVID on if I didn't have her in my corner. There was a time, well, there was a moment when I realized I need to actually create a website. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to go make a website. I don't know how to make a website.
Right.
And my wife is like, oh, you need to make oh, okay, yeah. This is how you get started on that. So I'm twirling away. She's like, "Are you good? You got it? Yeah. I got it. My ego is involved. Yeah, I got it." 3 weeks later, how's that coming along? It's all right. Can I see it? Yeah, sure. She looks at it. Okay, that's a start. Here, let's just fix these fonts.
Yeah.
Let's format this a little bit. By the time she was done, it wasn't anything close to what I had spent
She's
3
like,
weeks
get out the
doing.
way. I
Yeah,
can take care of it.
it was actually nice. So yeah, I show off our website constantly now, thegrovebarbers.com, as
We've
much as
seen it. It
possible.
looks nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I give her credit. She is absolutely my backbone in terms of keeping me motivated, keeping me focused. Um, I know you both have it where there are those days where you're working all day, or
Oh, yeah.
you got to go on a long business trip and everything else. You come back and they're like, you know what? Look, just sit down for a second, relax.
Oh, yeah.
You're okay.
I'm trying to remember that time, but okay.
No, I
It
do.
happens. It happens. We're gonna have to edit that out in case if your wife sees this. But yeah, having a partner, I really believe is like one of the biggest flexes ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like
100%.
having that person there who legit is invested in just seeing you win. Not because they're gonna get a paycheck out of it,
Right.
not because they are gonna get something nice from it, but just because they want to see you happy and they want to see you succeed.
Right.
I mean, like, I can't speak enough about that. We would need a whole nother podcast on just that alone.
Right.
And to
Probably get her
being-
in.
I mean, hey, whenever you're ready, she'll actually, she doesn't care for the spotlight, but I'm pretty sure if I begged her, she might pop in or something. But in exchange, I get to now reinvest in her and watch her like chase what brings her fulfillment. And every time I see her take another step or like get another achievement, it's like, yeah.
Right.
And then you see them light up the way you light up when you do things. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
this just feeds off of itself. Also, she is talented at calling me on my BS like no other.
Right.
Like, I have to like put that on record, because she does it in such a like coy, loving way that
Yeah.
I walk away. I'm like, wait, did she just call me out? She just, yeah, she's kind of right though. So I have like a million ideas. Oh yeah, I want to do this and I want to create this type of business and blah 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 blah. She's like, oh great, yeah, you should do that. Definitely go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah, absolutely. And then a few weeks will go by and she's like, whatever happened to that idea you had to build that spaceship? Are you still pursuing that?
Yeah.
What's going on with that? And it's like, well, see, what happened was it turns out I don't know how to make spaceships. She's like, yeah, I know.
Elon
But-
Musk took my idea.
Exactly. Elon got me again. So
Oh man. But no, I think that's that's great to have a support, and you are right about the support system. It's so like that. We like to call them the back office,
yeah.
and like you don't see
need
their
a
face.
strong back office.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but they're the foundation that basically holds you and allows you to have the opportunity to actually do what you need, and also be that conscience in the back of your head saying, hey, you know
Yeah.
what, maybe you should slow down on that part because
Absolutely.
Right.
Where-
They're the only people who sees like the worst of you and the best of you, and
and still love you.
yeah, and still love you. Yeah.
Or at least tell you. they
Yeah.
love you.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like where I've kind of like, one is I have a strong back office, but also my front office, my team, like they are absolutely like all stars. I don't have any other way of putting it. There's not a single barber there that does not pull their own weight and some. They hold me accountable in their own way as well.
Right.
It may not be direct where it's like, Abe, you're screwing up here, but we have a system of checks and balances where we do hold each other accountable. And I'm constantly pressing them to call me out when I'm dropping the ball, when I'm not doing something right, or I'm pushing too hard or crossing any lines and so on and so forth. And I feel like because of that, we're able to actually grow and
Yeah.
have mutual respect for each other. So my biggest role right now is not necessarily running the shop.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest role is actually just holding the standards. They're the ones running the shop.
Mm-hmm.
My job is actually to support them so
Right.
they can run the shop. But getting to that point took me learning that it's not all on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that process of realizing that was definitely something that happened by way of COVID as well.
Yeah.
Because when I started building the team back up, the people that came were people that were cautious. Like my shop manager, he came in, interviewed, we liked him. I'm like, he's gonna be a great fit. He's like, I'm actually not gonna come work for you
Mm-hmm.
because there's this other shop I want to go actually and work at and see if that would be a good fit for me. And initially, I'm like, ego got in the way, and I'm mad. How dare you, sir?
Say no to me.
Don't you know who I am? But he left and he went and checked out the other shop and it wasn't a good fit. Calls me back and was like, hey, you know what? If the offer's still there, I would like to actually come. So then when he came back sure-footed, well aware of what he was walking into,
Mm-hmm.
but also aware of what he could contribute to it. And because of his contributions, we literally took off like a rocket ship.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though he's even more important than I am in regards to the shop running the way it does because of how he goes about interacting with the team. He's the one that's the safe place. So everybody goes to him.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm out of line, they go to him and tell him, Abe is out of line about this and I don't like it. And then he pulls me out and says, hey,
Mm-hmm.
can we talk about this real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the guys, they have some concerns. So what are we going to do about it? And just the same way, my wife, like, has a loving way of, like,
Yeah.
telling me, like, hey, calm down. Like, he actually takes on that role as well. And because he does that, it gives everybody else the freedom to be able to still be
Mm-hmm.
themselves and be
Yeah.
comfortable and, like, keep on growing. So it's really not about me as much as it is about creating an environment and a culture where everybody gets a chance to grow
Mm-hmm.
and build up to who they're going to ultimately be as a professional as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's so crucial in a team. That's something I had to learn too because I used to be like, I like to do everything by myself. I
Yeah.
could do it better, I could do it
Yeah.
faster. But being a leader, it humbles you. It made me realize that I can't do everything on my own and I shouldn't.
Exactly.
And the model that I'm living by now is that if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I need to
Absolutely.
allow room for other people to
Oh,
do
yeah.
what they're good at.
Absolutely.
Right.
I
And create
love
that
I love that
space.
saying a lot.
Yeah.
If you're the most talented, you're definitely in the wrong
Yeah,
room.
absolutely.
Yeah, so with that mindset, I enjoy watching my team grow as individuals. One of my barbers, he's our resident a credit card guru. If you ever need to know what credit card you should get based on your circumstances,
Mhm.
oh, he's the guy. He can break it all down. He could tell you about the housing market. He could tell you about cars. He could tell you about all these things.
Yeah.
And he's clear-minded in how he goes about working. I have another guy who's just driven,
Mhm.
absolutely driven. If you're around him for 5 minutes, you're gonna want to do push-ups because it's like I got to do something with this energy.
Yeah.
So it's like all these people, they all come together and they're all working towards a similar goal. And
Right.
yeah, we all individually are taking care of our individual families, but we can all build up together because of the fact that we've figured out how to complement each
Mhm.
other and work together as a
Mhm.
team. So more and more, I get to be in a position where my job is to just steer the ship a little bit.
Mhm.
I got the guys to be the wind in the sail, and the guys who are doing the rowing sometimes, and the guys who are keeping things in order and all that. And it is absolutely liberating because it gives me the freedom now to do what I feel like I'm meant to be doing, which is building businesses and helping people grow.
Yeah, I think when you're I think in any business, if you have a team like that of what you're doing, and you're not able to step away from it while it's still running itself, then
Yeah.
there's something off.
My
Yeah.
dad actually told me about that. He said, if you own a business that needs you there for it to work, you don't own the business owns you.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
like,
right.
And
okay, Dad, thanks for the gem.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it takes, with people that are interested in opening business or looking to open businesses, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time to find the right people. I mean, you didn't find them right
Oh.
off the bat when you started the business. I mean, we talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people says, it took years to find the right
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
one. We know this one financial lady. She's one of the best financial people that we've ever seen. Makes so much money, but she said it took me 13 years to find the right person to work with me and to
Absolutely.
be able to do the same thing or be better than me.
Yeah.
13 years. And so it doesn't just come off, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah. That is a reality that I don't think a lot of people like appreciate, because we're in the like microwave society. Like, I'm not gonna cook a whole meal. I'm gonna go through the drive-through because I
Yeah.
can get my food immediately.
Right.
I'm not gonna spend time forming a relationship and like
Right.
building up a relationship. No, I'm just gonna go on an app and find what I want. We're so used to getting everything
Yeah.
instantly.
Immediate gratification.
Yeah, I'm gonna order something off of Amazon. Oh, they got overnight delivery. Yeah, I'm just
Yep.
gonna take that,
Choosing that option.
even though I don't need it for like
Right.
for a while, or it's not that important. If I have the option of getting it tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that. So then it kind of takes away from the reality that some of the best things, some of the things that last the longest takes
Yeah.
time. If you're trying to have a successful business, it takes time. You can have everything you need in place, and it's still going to take you time to actually develop the culture you need, time to find the people who can recognize the environment for what it is and actually add to it and not just simply take.
Yeah.
And going through that work, if you're not built for it, it will wreck you. You'll flush a lot of money and it'll wreck you,
Yep.
So like just having that appreciation for the fact that you're going to water that plant or water the soil for 4 years before you even see a stem.
Oh, yeah.
And that's also the other reason in my head, at least, as to why most businesses fail within like the first couple of years.
First 2 years.
First 2 years, so like just having that mindset when you're going into it is absolutely important if you're ever actually going to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
no,
a good advice.
I
Thank
think
you.
that's truly,
Yeah.
truly right. But we're coming close to.
Yeah. We're going to wrap it
close.
up.
You want to ask the question?
I do.
Uh-oh.
Well, before I ask that, I do have
Yes.
one more. Abe, if you can give advice to people, to anyone who are aspiring entrepreneurs that want to have their own barbershop, what would that advice be?
And there's only one advice. No,
Just one advice.
One word. I'm just
Run.
kidding.
No, I'm joking. Have a clear vision of what you want. And in saying that, that means a few different things. First thing, write down what you want. Be as detailed as possible of what that looks like. I know for myself, I worked at numerous shops prior to being where I am now. And what that afforded me was exposure to both what I like and what I don't like, exposure to how people are treated when they visit various shops, whether it's in the hood or nicer neighborhoods and so on and so forth. And in having that experience, I was able to have a clear view and a clear picture of what I would imagine my shop being. it was so clear to me that I was able, like, I would be cutting somebody's hair, and we start talking about life. Next thing you know, I'm giving them specific details
Yeah.
as to what my shop is gonna look like.
Mm-hmm.
I had it down to the color,
Mm.
just because I thought about it so much. I wrote it down. I did sketches and everything else. So that for me was probably one of the most important things I did. Was I made a lot of lists when I
Mm.
started off, and then I would follow those lists and use that as both a barometer as to how far I've
Yeah.
come, but also a bookmark as to what I need to do next. And in doing that, it made my journey a lot more efficient, and I wasted a lot less time because I could always refer back to my list and go, okay, well, I already found the location. Okay, I already got this. I already did that. Okay, I still need to get these things done.
Mm-hmm.
And then as more things came up that I needed to address, instead of me going, oh my God, I got to do that right now, I would just add it to the list.
Yeah.
Just keep on adding it to the list. And I'll get to it when I get to it, but I'm not going to stress myself out right now, try to
Mm.
make everything happen. I'm going to do what I can afford to do and I'm capable of doing.
Right.
And I'll
Mm-hmm.
let the rest of it come to me in time. That was another thing that I caught about the previous guest you guys had.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I didn't have the full plan. I just
Right.
knew that I wanted to do this and I had these resources. So I went after it and things made themselves available
Yeah.
to me as I moved on. So I feel like that is true with whatever business endeavor you have,
Mm.
even beyond barber shops and so on and so forth. It's just being organized in how you approach what you're doing. So,
Thank you for that gold nugget.
yeah, thank
I
you.
appreciate it. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. We've kept you here for a while.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure. Actually, I wanted to ask you guys questions as
Yeah.
well. What has been your biggest challenge as a woman in this industry?
In the financial services industry.
Yes.
Well, I think now it's changed a lot. I feel like now women are actually dominant in the industry.
Ah,
When I started a long time ago, the financial industry was predominantly run by male, but we're changing that a lot now. Um, I would say for a woman being in this industry, especially when you are an independent contractor like we are, um, for me, it's the balance of running the team, making sure that I stay on top of, being self-disciplined, and then also being present for my family too.
yeah.
I feel like that's always been my thing. Um, and so how I overcome that is I tell myself there's a season for everything. I'm not going to be able to do everything all at once, but
Mm,
if this year I have a big goal that I'm going to chase, I tell myself this is the season to hustle and I'm
yeah.
going to work hard this season.
I love hustle season.
Yeah. And the next season, I'll allow myself and say, this is the season to enjoy my hustle now, right?
Mhm.
Like be with the family, take the trips, maybe take it easy. Um, and so for me, I've learned to live my life as seasons instead of just living all seasons within one day.
Ah,
It's just impossible.
so
Yeah.
you prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah. So for
phenomenal.
me, it's the balance. And, ultimately, it's always doing better than I can the day before. I think that self discipline, it never disappears.
Mhm.
And so that's a personal challenge is just to outdo myself. Yeah.
Nice. And for you, young sir,
For me, youngster. Oh.
young sir, do you feel as though there is a what's the right word for it? Do you feel as though there is a challenge being a minority in the financial services
Good question.
industry,
You know,
or have you kind of superseded that where you're at?
He doesn't identify as Asian, so
no,
He identifies as
that's
successful.
no. I think in the minority world, I mean, you look at it, um, especially if you look at the statistics. Asian people, the Asian community are they consider the richest people,
Mm,
and is it because of their the ways they do stuff? Is it? I think it is, but I think it's more of the culture that we talked about. But I mean, we're talking about the financial side. They're they're typically predominant is the Asian community in the financial side.
Mm.
And when you talk about young people coming into the financial or learning about the financial side, it's all about the mindset because I mean, people talking about financial is very sensitive. It's a sensitive subject,
Personal topic.
and yeah, and people don't really want to talk about it. But if you're able to communicate with people in a certain way that um, talking about financial is an important part of your life and being able to express it and not you don't have to tell people how much money you have but helping each other to understand maybe this is the right route that we should take and helping them to structure their strategies and since that's what we do since that's what we do then it makes it and it builds which is exactly what you say a clear vision of what you want in the future because especially with the market and things right now the only thing we can do is prepare and make of course make more money and prepare for what's coming next because we don't know but with most people that are looking to buy houses to buy those things it's taking a little bit more time than we expected and so when you say challenges that arises for the from what we do, I think the biggest challenge of what we do now is for me personally is that I am a very motivated person. I like to say I'm kind of like what you express in yourself is that I see something and I want to work for it. And I want to get it now, or I want to do it right now. And luckily, I have my wife that slows me down. She always said, "You live in the future, and I live in the present." And I'm trying to bring you back down to the present, but you're sometimes you're, and she'll tell me this. She says sometimes you're a little too much for people, and I tell her this. I say
I've heard that
yes.
too.
Yeah, I say yes. It's because sometimes people don't have enough,
Yeah,
enough, and that's what they're. Sometimes they don't realize that they need more.
yeah, light that fire under them.
Yeah,
Like, what are you doing? You're 65. You're over here talking about you only have $20. No, you need. Let's go.
yeah.
I
So
definitely
so
understand that.
so I think that's a big challenge, especially in the entrepreneur and just kind of being able to focus on one thing. But and I think there's going to be more challenges in the financial industry coming up, especially for people that are retiring or looking for to build a successful portfolio here. But yeah, no, and and in everything, I appreciate you coming to do this podcast with us and
Yeah.
to tell us the insights of the barber and your life and express how things have changed.
Oh, certainly. It was definitely a pleasure. I'm honored that you guys were kind enough to give me this opportunity. It's always a joy being able to share whatever little information or whatever knowledge I have with anybody who's willing to listen. So hopefully this benefits anybody,
Yeah,
but
no,
It
I think it
does.
will.
Yeah.
also I want to thank you guys as well for you know your knowledge and your experience as well because that's how I believe we all grow is by sharing knowledge and
Right.
information.
You're right. I think that's one of our biggest motivation to start this podcast because we only know so much. Like everybody has a book of knowledge, and unless you're spending time with them and you're having conversations with them, you're missing out on a lot. And
Absolutely.
so the point of this podcast is to allow people from all walks of life to come in and share their journey because, I mean, we can be in the same industry, but our journeys are also different.
Very.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
It was
We
a
really
joy.
appreciate your time, Abe.